Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, 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 money.
Dollar, dollar. Dollar, dollar.
Okay, me. I'm a big movie fan. I also see a lot of movies. I also see a lot of terrible movies. This is the 5 worst movies I've seen in 2019. This year I've tried to hunt down a lot more bad movies. Some of these movies I didn't think would be nearly as bad as they were. Some of these I went to the theater thinking they would be bad, and they were way worse than I thought they were going to be. But this list is under a PG-13 rating, meaning that I didn't see any R-rated movies this year. I mean, I guess I saw John Wick, but other than that, I haven't seen any R-rated movies, which unfortunately means Hellboy's not on this list. A lot of people are going to want Hellboy on this list, but it's not on this list. It would probably not even be on this list if I saw it, but, because, no, if this was my 5 worst movies of last year, like by the December, if this is my 5 worst movies of the year by December, I'll be like, yeah, yes, I'll list. Some of these movies might not make it in my 10 worst. These were some bad movies. Like, some really bad movies. You remember my 5 worst of last year when I released that at the end of June? No, this is a lot worse than that. These are my 5 least favorite movies I've seen in 2019. I think 4 through 2, like the 5 through 2, I could have switched those around a lot. They fall a line pretty well, but some of these movies, most of these I didn't even independently review. Only 2 of them have their own reviews. All the honorable mentions, except no, 1 honorable mention doesn't. Let's go through my first honorable mentions, then we'll get into the list. My very first honorable mention is Miss Bala. I could have put Aladdin as an honorable mention. I decided not to. I decided to give Miss Bala that honorable mention. I hated this movie. It was a terrible action movie. It didn't know what the plot... I didn't know how to... It just had such a confusing plot. The plot was all over the place. The characters were bad. The main character, who's supposed to be the strong, independent woman who don't need no man, kills 1 person in the movie. And I hated this movie. It was terrible. My next honorable mention is, unfortunately, X-Men Dark Phoenix. I hated this movie. And on every level. This movie was an incompetent failure. The plot was all over the place, like Miss Bala. The film didn't know what it was doing, ever. The drama was forced. The character development was bad. It was a terrible interpretation of Dark Phoenix as well. The action was bad. The CG was bad. I don't know how this movie is nearly as bad as it is, but this is easily the worst X-Men film yet. And unfortunately, it's the last one. But whatever. Everybody hates this movie. It's making no money, so fine with me. And my number 1 honorable mention is Wonder Park. I hated this movie when I first saw it. I have a very negative review of that movie. And Woody's still back there from Toy Story 4. I did not like this movie at all. I could not stand it. It was a mess. It was just things happening. There was horrible tonal issues. Like, the tone made no sense the entire time. I didn't like it at all. But I like that movie more than the ones on this list. Not a lot more than number 5, but let's jump right in. These are my 5 worst movies of 2019. Let's start at number 5.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
How could you do this?
The Year of Keanu. So, this is the Year of Keanu now. I like that because I like Keanu Reeves. And I guess he was, like, everybody's seen John Wick, Toy Story 4, and that Cyberpunk trailer. And everybody's thinking that, but nobody saw his movie that came out in January, Replicas. I hated this movie. It sucked. It was a bad sci-fi movie. The first 2/3 were, by God, boring. The last third was downright completely incoherent and hilarious at that. The CGI on the robot. Oh my God, it was bad. DJ Wolf compared the CGI on the robot in this movie to the CGI in Jurassic Park, or no, Jurassic Shark. I don't know why I said Jurassic Park. Jurassic Shark, not Jurassic Park. Yeah, this movie was bad. And Keanu Reeves is not even good at it. He's not entertaining. You know that everybody likes Keanu Reeves because he's apparently like God, or I like Keanu Reeves a lot too. But his voice, and his all cool voice and everything. Yeah, well, he's not showing anything cool in this movie. He's not nearly entertaining in this movie. He's not giving emotion because he's not a good actor. He's an entertaining actor, not a good one. I hated this movie. It was bad, but I thought it would be a lot higher on this list, honestly.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
On your destiny, live as if you are what.
The most hateable movie of the year is Ugly Dolls. This is my emoji movie of the year. Well, I don't think it's nearly as bad as the Emoji Movie, and I don't think it's not even at the top of this list. I could not stand this movie. I saw it alone in a theater with another family at the front of the theater, me in the back corner. I was cringing. I thought the writing was awful. It was bare minimum lazy. They did not try at all when making this movie. They just slapped together some movie that didn't make sense, that had one of the most forced messages I've seen in a while, that had god-awful characters. The best thing about this movie is the CGI looks smooth. Aside from that, this movie is god-awful.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
This is the Slenderman of 2019. Well, Slenderman's worse than this movie by a long shot. I hate the silence. I hate every movie on this list. I hate everything in my top 10 worst of this year. But yeah, I hated this movie. I didn't think it really did anything like good. It tries. It's such. I mean, I don't know if I don't know if the premise came before Quiet Place. I hear something. It's like a book or something. I don't know. I don't know what the origin of this movie is. But it's so similar to A Quiet Place. It's hilarious. And look, let's face it, this movie only exists because of the success of Bird Box and A Quiet Place. I never watched Bird Box because it looked like crap, and I watched The Atom and Pals by Your Movie Sucks, and it looked bad. But I watched A Quiet Place a lot. I really liked that movie. I thought it was a very good horror movie. But in A Quiet Place, it's not slow. Like, it's not so slow that I could not stand the pacing of this movie. It didn't move at all, because the entire time you're trying to move really slowly and be quiet, but in A Quiet Place, they have this whole system figured out. They have the stone pads on the ground, so when they walk, they don't make sound. This movie doesn't have that. They're just trying to walk around and be quiet. And they're being really slow. There is not a single second of tension or interest. The third act was very anticlimactic. That ending was completely... I don't even get that ending. I don't get this movie. I don't know why this movie happened. Stanley Tucci's bad in it. This movie was really bad.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
Okay, I might get backlash for saying Captive State's the second worst movie of the year, because a lot of people might be like, "Oh, I enjoyed it. The story was good. Oh, it was emotional. It was deep. It was good acting." Yeah, I don't think any of those three things, or however many things I just said. Acting wise, nobody wants to be in this movie. They're all bored the entire time, and I figured out what's wrong with this movie. Because yes, this movie barely has a plot. Yes, nothing happens in the movie. Yes, it's so bland and so nothing that it's so hateable. And beyond that, this movie is so egotistical. It thinks it's so profound and so deep when it is substanceless. It has nothing. This movie is nothing. It has no drama, no emotion. It's just boring. This is the worst type of movie. A movie that has nothing happening and it's boring. Every scene throws a new character on the screen. This is supposed to be some revolution alien movie. It's not that. It's a boring movie where nothing happens and characters just walk around and do things. God.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
Here comes the money. Money, money.
Oh my God. I'm a real thug. I'm an OG Madea.
This is easily the worst movie of the year. Madea Family Funeral, the last Madea, thank God. The worst part about this movie is comedy-wise, because, yeah, it's predictably unfunny. Like, you know it's going to be unfunny from the trailers, but no, it was not funny. I did not laugh for a second. I did not think a second of this movie was funny. What they do in this movie is movie's basically like an hour of this movie, maybe even an hour and a half of it is just Madea and these other old people just arguing back and forth, arguing about nonsense, making completely, like, saying nothing, giving no funny jokes, giving no substance, giving no nothing to the audience, and basically just giving a middle finger to them saying, hey, frick you for seeing our movie. Now, why don't you watch 20 minutes of Madea just saying some stupid racist jokes? How about that? And beyond the horrible acting, beyond the horrendous comedy, beyond the boring plot, beyond the completely, like, the family funeral is like a side plot. Like, there's not, like, they don't even care, like, the writers, Tyler Perry, Doesn't even care about a plot. He just wants to act as Madea and say some stupid crap. This movie is so bad. It made me like yell. I was in a rage watching this movie. I was angered the entire time. It was beyond boring. It was lazy. It was unfunny. Never funny for a second. Not a single joke was remotely clever at all. Don't see this movie. Nobody really did, but by God, don't see this. This is the worst movie of the year, and if I put this on last year's list, it would be up there as one of the worst. Maybe 3, maybe 2. Yeah, I didn't like this movie at all. But I kind of want something worse this year because, you know, I don't have like a strong hate for the Madea movies because this is the only one I've seen. But I have a strong hate for this movie. I freaking hated it. But of course, my best movies of the year is coming out soon, which I actually liked. Like, that's 5 movies that I think all 5 are great. I don't have a very solid top 10 best. I have a very good top 10 worst. Did you know the 10th worst movie of the year is Escape Room? Yeah, that terrible movie. Yeah, Escape Room is the 10th worst movie of the year. Yeah, I could have made top 10 worst. I decided not to. I'm waiting till the end of the year to make my top 5 epic worst movies of the year, which will be really good. Like, you will see some really bad movies there. This was a solid top 5 list for me. I think most of these movies are just boring and they're all boring. They're all boring movies, but there's only 2 of them that I think are really interesting, which are Replicas and Ugly Dolls. The other 3 are not interesting, and they just suck. So I kind of want a movie like Show Dogs to end up being the worst movie of the year. But if I don't get one, fine. I guess that's just less pain for me. But for my top 10 worst, it makes the top 10 worst list not as entertaining. But there are a lot of crappy movies this year. What are your guys' worst movies of the year? Let me know in the comment section below. There have been some bad movies of the year. I know I didn't see Hellboy. I wish I did. It would have probably made it on this list. Maybe not. It would at least made it honorable mentions most likely. See you guys next time. Bye.